The Indiana Fever's playoff battle against the Las Vegas Aces was supposed to be about basketball greatness. Two teams fighting for their season, two stars clashing under the brightest lights, and fans witnessing the drama that makes the WNBA so special. Instead, the game will forever be remembered for something else entirely: the whistles. Aliyah Boston, the face of the Aces and one of the league's biggest stars, went to the free throw line an astonishing 26 times. That's right, 26 attempts from the stripe in a single playoff game. Meanwhile, the Fever as a team didn't come close to matching that number. Fans sat stunned, broadcasters struggled to justify it, and the Indiana bench fumed as foul after foul was whistled against their defenders. At the center of the storm was Aliyah Boston, the Fever's young centerpiece, who spent more time battling the referee's whistles than battling Wilson in the paint. When the game ended in heartbreak, Boston didn't hold back. The playoff stage was set. Heading into the Fever Aces matchup, the narrative was already electric. On one side, you had the Las Vegas Aces, the powerhouse franchise, loaded with experience, depth, and star power. Aliyah Boston, already a two-time MVP and the cornerstone of the team, represented everything dominant about the modern WNBA. On the other side stood the Indiana Fever, a younger team, rebuilding its identity around the phenomenal rookie Aliyah Boston. The Fever were looking to prove they weren't just up-and-coming, but capable of competing with the best. Their season had been defined by grit, growth, and flashes of brilliance. This playoff showdown was billed as Boston versus Wilson, a clash of eras, of rising star versus established legend. For fans, it was must-watch basketball. Would the veteran Aces prove too much? Or would Boston and the Fever shock the league with an upset? A game of whistles. Basketball is supposed to flow. Fast breaks, pick and rolls, defensive battles in the paint. These moments create the rhythm of the sport. But in this Fever Aces game, that rhythm was shattered by an avalanche of whistles. Every time Wilson touched the ball near the basket, the referee's whistles echoed through the arena. Contact that looked routine, hands up, bodies bumping, players fighting for position, was suddenly deemed a foul. Fever defenders raised their arms in disbelief, shaking their heads, but to no avail. The Aces found themselves living at the free throw line, scoring easy points while the Fever's offense sputtered. Worse, Indiana's key players, especially Boston, racked up fouls that forced head coach Stephanie White to make difficult substitutions. Boston's presence in the paint, crucial for both scoring and rebounding, was diminished, leaving the Fever vulnerable. Aliyah Boston in foul trouble. Aliyah Boston entered the game with confidence. She knew defending Wilson would be a challenge, but she had prepared for it. Strong, disciplined, and fundamentally sound, Boston prides herself on her ability to play physical without fouling. But on this night, nothing she did seemed good enough for the referees. Early in the first quarter, Boston picked up a quick foul while contesting a layup. Moments later, another whistle blew, her second foul. The crowd groaned, and Boston's frustration was visible. These weren't reckless fouls. They were routine plays that usually don't draw calls in playoff basketball. By the third quarter, Boston had been whistled multiple times, her minutes limited as the coaching staff tried to protect her from fouling out. Instead of asserting herself against Wilson, she was forced to play cautiously, avoiding contact and losing her defensive edge. Wilson's 26 free throws. Let's talk about the number that sparked outrage across the basketball world. 26 free throw attempts for Aliyah Boston. In professional basketball, a player reaching double digits in free throw attempts is notable. 15 attempts? That's a sign of heavy contact. But 26? That number is unheard of in a playoff game. It's the kind of stat line that overshadows everything else, no matter how well a player performs. Wilson, to her credit, converted many of those opportunities, padding her point total and keeping the Aces in control. But even neutral fans had to admit, the disparity didn't make sense. On replay, many of the fouls called looked like normal playoff contact, body positioning, arms going straight up, or minor bumps that players usually play through. Instead, Wilson went to the line again and again, while Fever players struggled to get calls on their own drives to the basket. Aliyah Boston speaks out. When the game ended, the Fever walked off the court in silence, stunned and defeated. But at the post-game press conference, Aliyah Boston refused to stay quiet. Sitting at the podium, she leaned forward and spoke with measured frustration. "We all saw what happened tonight," she began. "When one player gets 26 free throws, and our team doesn't even get half of that, you start to wonder, was this about basketball or something else?" Her words were calm, but cutting. Boston wasn't making excuses. She was calling for accountability. "We worked all season for this moment," she continued, "and it feels like the outcome was taken out of our hands. I respect Aliyah. She's a great player, but the game should be decided by us, not the refs." The internet reacts. The internet wasted no time in responding to Boston's comments and the free throw controversy. Twitter exploded with hashtags like hashtag 26 free throws, hashtag rigrefs, and hashtag Boston was right. Fans posted slow-motion replays of fouls that seemed questionable at best and outright phantom calls at worst. Memes spread quickly. Images of referees in Aces jerseys, jokes about Wilson practicing free throws instead of layups, and gifs of players shrugging in disbelief. The story wasn't just trending in WNBA circles. It spilled over into mainstream sports media, with NBA fans even chiming in about star treatment in basketball. Even casual fans who rarely watch the WNBA stopped to pay attention. And in a strange way, the controversy brought more eyes to the league, though not for the reasons executives would have wanted. The WNBA's dilemma. For the WNBA, the fallout from this game was a nightmare. On one hand, referees are the backbone of competitive integrity, and the league couldn't afford to undermine their authority. On the other, the public outcry was too loud to ignore. Internally, the league likely reviewed every call from the game, analyzing whether errors were made. Publicly, however, the statement was vague, mentioning only the importance of respecting officials and maintaining professionalism. But the silence on specifics only fueled fan anger. The possibility of fining Boston for her comments created another dilemma. Punishing her would make the league look like it was silencing players who dared to criticize officiating. Ignoring her comments, however, risked emboldening others to speak out. Star treatment in basketball. The Fever Aces controversy also reignited a familiar debate in basketball: star treatment. Across both the NBA and WNBA, fans have long accused referees of favoring marquee players, granting them softer fouls, more free throws, and a longer leash on defense. Aliyah Wilson is undeniably a superstar. She's the face of the Aces, a multi-time MVP, and one of the league's most marketable athletes. But with that status often comes unspoken perks. Just like NBA legends before her, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, James Harden, Wilson seemed to benefit from whistles that other players don't get. For fans of smaller market teams like the Fever, it reinforced a painful narrative that the league prioritizes its biggest stars and franchises at the expense of fairness. When Wilson gets 26 free throws and Boston struggles to get any calls in her favor, the optics are hard to ignore. Aliyah Boston's leadership. Aliyah Boston may be young, but her decision to speak out showed leadership far beyond her years. Many rookies would have played it safe, deflecting questions and avoiding controversy. But Boston understood the weight of the moment. By challenging the officiating, she wasn't just standing up for herself. She was standing up for her team, her city, and the integrity of the league. Her willingness to risk fines or backlash sent a message. The Fever won't quietly accept unfair treatment. Her comments also set the tone for her future. Boston isn't just a talented player. She's a voice, a leader who isn't afraid to hold others accountable. For Fever fans, that's as inspiring as her dominant play on the court. What happens next? The Fever Aces game may be over, but its impact will linger. The league now faces pressure to address officiating transparency, while fans demand assurance that games are decided by players, not referees. For Aliyah Boston, this could mark the beginning of her role as both a player and an advocate. If the WNBA responds with reforms, she'll be credited with sparking a much-needed conversation. If not, the perception of bias will only grow stronger. For the Aces and Aya Wilson, the controversy may shadow their playoff run. Even if they win the championship, critics will always point back to the 26 free throws as an asterisk on their path to victory. And for fans, trust is on the line. Every whistle moving forward will be scrutinized, every disparity debated. The WNBA's growth depends on credibility, and this moment could either strengthen or weaken that foundation.